In this video, I'm going to be playing through all of Cursed Halo CE on Legendary, but with a twist. To celebrate Halo Campaign Evolved coming out, I will be doing my most popular challenge in this mod, beating Halo CE while only using Covenant weapons. For full transparency, I have never played this mod, but I have seen some YouTubers play it, so I'm somewhat familiar with it. Also, I will have a link to the Steam page where I got this mod in the description. Because I don't know everything there is to know about this mod, my rules are going to be pretty lax. I'm defining a Covenant weapon as any weapon that a Covenant species uses against me. So to be 100% safe, I will only use weapons that I've gotten from killing an elite, grunt, or jackal. For levels with no Covenant, I'm going to be using weapons that I've used in the past. Hopefully that makes sense. Also, all vehicles are legal. I'm only restricting weapons. One more thing, I saw that there are some Mario Kart levels. I'm terrible at Mario Kart, so the challenge there will just be beating the levels. Pillar of Autumn started out pretty interesting.
Holy Jesus. What is that?
When I got handed a pistol from Captain Keys, because of the challenge I obviously couldn't use it, but I don't think I would have wanted to anyway since it was kinda pointing the wrong way. I easily killed the first 3 grunts by meleeing them. Then I actually had to figure out how to get a gun to deal with the first real group of Covenant. Honestly, the plan was just to run at them and hope I got lucky. After a couple of tries, I was able to survive punching the elite to death. Then I picked up what seemed to be some sort of 2D pixelated plasma rifle. My Marine had killed a grunt, and the gun he dropped was just a normal plasma pistol. I mostly used the pixelated plasma rifle to clear the room because it was doing some very decent damage. Another funny part about this gun was when I meleeed with it, my arm was also pixelated. Once I cleared out the next group of enemies, I found a new plasma pistol and my first D20 frag grenade. I decided to allow all types of grenades. To be honest, my main reason was just because they were funny. I threw my D20 into a hallway and it spawned who knows what, but it was causing constant explosions. I watched for a while until the exploding missile thing started coming towards me. Luckily it was slow enough for me to dodge it. At the next gunfight, I tried out the Heart plasma pistol and the plasminade. I don't think I have to explain why the plasminade is OP. I also found a healing potion from Minecraft, and it worked exactly how I thought it would. I thought the healing potion was weird. What came next was 10 times more strange. Karate? So apparently now I could do some karate moves. So that was cool, I guess. I immediately tried to use some of my new moves on the 2 elites and it went very poorly. The second time wasn't any better. After this death I figured it out. The kick is best used as a finishing move. Unfortunately, now I had to deal with all the elites and grunts while having very low health. Worst of all, some of the grunts were using guns that were shooting pee at me. The way I got past this was by sitting in one spot and using the pixelated plasma rifle to kill everything that piqued me. I tried using the pea gun in the next area, but it was terrible, so I went back to using the plasma rifle. Unfortunately, the plasma rifle shots kept getting stuck on the cover I was trying to use and I couldn't just stand out in the open due to my low health, so I started looking around for something else to use. I found a D20 and that solved all my problems. The next fight probably would have been hard if I didn't have a plasminade. For the rest of the level I did what you're seeing on screen right now, holding down M1 with the plasma rifle. Until I got to the final group of enemies. Right next to them was a bunch of D20 frags. I think you can imagine what I did next. To get my first gun on Halo, I had to use my bare hands because the 3 D20s I threw didn't do shit. I had gotten very low from doing that, so at the first tower I ran past the enemies to get a health pack. I turned around and out of nowhere a bunch of jackals spawned. I blew them up and tried to blow up the rest of the squad without realizing that the grenades that I was throwing were just cars. The jackals I had killed had a new gun for me to use, a laser pew-pew gun. Also, the cars I threw were drivable, but I decided against using them to leave the area because I was very curious about what the warthog would be that Bowhammer would drop off. At the first dropship, the D20 I threw spawned a bunch of banshees, so very helpful stuff. But to counteract that bad luck, I found a super good gun, a triple plasma rifle. This thing deleted everything. While fighting the next wave, I backed up into a stationary banshee and died?
Dead.
I repeat, this banshee was not moving and it insta-killed me. Well, at least now I knew killing these things that I spawned in was a priority. After dealing with them, I went back to fighting the waves of Covenant getting dropped off. I found another new gun, a plasma rifle that shot out missing texture blocks. It was pretty bad, so I went back to using the laser and triple plasma rifle. Once all the fighting was done, Foehammer came in, but something else caught my eye. A big warthog falling from the sky. Then I saw an even bigger warthog. To even get in it, I had to parkour up. This thing had the turning speed of the Titanic combined with super bouncy and low gravity Halo CE vehicle physics. Let's just say driving this thing was not very easy, but it was worth it. I felt invincible. Clearly, before I could do anything, I had to deal with these grunts shooting green cubes of death. After knocking them off, I could enact my plan, driving past everything, jumping up to the button, blowing up the elites, and driving across the bridge. Now I needed to go to the 3 life pods. Unfortunately, at the first one, none of them survived the ruthless and evil Covenant. The next drop pod was a lot more interesting. It was full of Covenant using Minecraft items. First, I had to deal with some jackals with diamond swords. It seems they weren't aware that I've been playing Minecraft for almost 10 years. From the grunts, I got potions and a crossbow. Then an elite ran at me.
Get the fuck out of my room! I'm playing Minecraft!
Spin kick beats diamond axe. The marines in the tunnels below the tower seemed like they needed some help, so I tossed them a D20. Since I've now seen the Covenant using Minecraft weapons, I'm comfortable saying using them is fair game. The crossbow was hard to use against elites with real guns, so I decided to go back to using the pixelated plasma rifle. The final area was pretty short. I think it was because I was spamming so many grenades. One of my D20s had spawned a chest, but because I found it after everything had died, I didn't get to use anything in it. I started off Truth and Reconciliation by trying to use the D20 frags to get something to help me in the first gunfight. I did this because I thought it would be easier than going for a melee to get a usable gun. After a couple of minutes of trying, I got some guy, and being near him did damage to all the Covenant for some reason.
What?
Annoyingly, he did also do damage to me, but it was barely any, so I was able to get a pixelated plasma rifle. The next area introduced what would be the bane of my existence in the outside portion of this level: jackal snipers. These guys have human snipers that do a ton of damage, and due to the rules of this challenge, I couldn't get my own sniper to deal with them. My guns weren't cutting it, so I decided to scavenge around and ended up finding a chest with Minecraft items. The big one was the invisibility potion. That made clearing everything very easy, but for some reason I didn't get a checkpoint after doing all this. So when I died in the next area, I got sent back. I cleared the area again, no checkpoint. This was getting annoying, so I decided I would just use the invis potion to skip everything all the way to the grav lift fight. Doing this did give me checkpoints for some reason, and one of those checkpoints doomed me. It was right after I'd cleared out most of the enemies there except for a few grunts and all 3 of the jackal snipers. These guys were basically on top of the map, which meant I needed a long-range gun to kill them. I backtracked to some elites and killed them for their laser guns. Using it to kill the jackals was not very easy. It was a 3-shot to kill them, and it was hard to see them from so far away. This led to me dying to them most of the time. The other problem was the wave fights. The needler replacement in this mod was cooking me. I don't really know how it works, but the shots that came out of it would bounce all over the place and kill me when I tried to clear the waves from cover. I tried this for about 40 minutes until I decided that I needed a different approach and I restarted. What I did this time was first get the Minecraft chest, then use 1 invis potion to clear the first area, 1 to clear the second area, and a 3rd on the area right before the grav lift. Because this time I had actually cleared out all the enemies, I got marine reinforcements at the grav lift. That was just what I needed to help me clear out the waves. Well, some lucky D20 rolls also helped. Then when the hunters dropped down, I spin kicked them. Inside the Covenant ship, I mostly used grenades to clear out the first couple waves until I found myself a triple plasma rifle. That made quick work of everything until the hunters, which I once again spin kicked. I got a chest with more Minecraft stuff out of a D20 frag, and that helped me in the next room. I'm gonna be honest, almost 2 hours into this level, I really did not want to do another wave fight. So I reset checkpoint until enemies came out of the door that I needed to go through to progress. I thought the hangar was going to be really unfun to deal with, but I kept getting so many plasma nades and that made it pretty easy to clear. My next big obstacle was a room full of Minecraft Covenant. My weapons were not that good, so I was really banking on this D20 frag I had. It was kinda letting me down. For example, one of my tries it gave me trees? Eventually I got the exploding bouncing missile thing and that was enough chaos for me to clear everything. Another thing that was worrying me was the Captain Key's escort, because knowing this mod it was gonna involve some bullshit. Lucky for me, I didn't have to find out what it was because he randomly stopped following me, so I cleared up as far as I could, then went back to go get him. When he caught up, a bunch of grunts spawned. These grunts had guns that pushed and pulled. That seemed pretty AIDS to deal with, so I threw all my grenades, and when they threw grenades, I closed the doors. This caused almost all of them to blow up. In the end, I only really faced one, and after that it was just one more squad of Covenant and this level was finally over. This took me almost 3 hours, which I think is a new record for me. The start of Silent Cartographer was extremely chaotic. I threw a D20 and that killed a grunt, which allowed me to get a gun. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Warthog and decided to use it to leave this first fight. That was a very good idea because the second I got in it, I was swarmed by grunts on Warthogs. Luckily, I was able to get away. I found a health pack and decided to switch Warthogs because the one I was driving sucked to drive. Before entering the first building, I beat up some jackals and got an overshield. Then I diffed the elites. The last one I killed dropped an overshield potion, which was very handy. I used a mixture of TNT and firework crossbow shots to clear out the rest of the enemies inside. After the door locked, I killed a couple more enemies on my way to the second building. Before I could go in, I had to deal with 3 hunters. The ones on the ground I could just spin kick, but the one up top was not dying. Fortunately, the dumbass fell off, so he got spin kicked. On my way out of the building, after pressing the button, some camo elites showed up. Normally this wouldn't be too bad, but one of them had a triple plasma rifle. I was dying here a lot until on one of my attempts I locked in with the crossbow after I had gotten a good plasma nade off. Since I had gotten another overshield, I ignored the enemy reinforcements at the entrance of the next building. When I tried to enter through the unlocked door, a cutscene started. I think I'll just let this play out for you guys.
Hold up, Chief. My sensors are detecting something in this room. This must be some kind of highly advanced Forerunner artifact. You may be able to upgrade your suit with it.
Upgrade complete.
Yeah, I just got a major upgrade with this double jump. This gave me an idea. I dropped down all the way to the cartographer, then after skipping the cutscene I ran to where the active camo was. My idea was to use the double jump with the active camo, that way it would last all the way to the top. Things went surprisingly smoothly, until I saw it running out right before the exit. There was no turning back now, so I just went for it and surprisingly made it out alive. I did still have to deal with some more camo elites. But the first one I killed dropped me another triple plasma rifle, so it was basically over now. Mostly because the hunters didn't do much to stop me from getting to the Pelican. The beginning of Assault on the control room was not good at all. I started getting shot at before I even had full control of my character. On the bright side, on my second try, I got an orbital laser out of one of my D20s. I got a plasma pistol, but things were just getting worse because all the grunts here had guns that pushed, pulled, and launched me around, so now I had to play super safe to make sure I wouldn't get booped off the map. The way I found to clear out the grunts safely was to abuse the fact that if someone wasn't in the shade turret, they would run to get in it. With this knowledge, I killed the grunts one at a time out of the shade turret. Inside, I used a diamond sword I got out of a chest on the 2 elites patrolling, then cleared out everything else with the pixelated plasma rifle. I then died on the bridge when I was caught completely off guard by a shotgun jackal? Now that I knew that for some reason there were shotgun jackals, I made sure to clear everything from far away. Before leaving the bridge, a gold elite with a triple plasma rifle came out, which was terrifying. Or it would have been if I didn't juke him out and shiv him in the back with my diamond sword. With his gun, I cleared out the next 2 rooms and made it outside. I saw my marines and went to go help, and their response was to run me over. This seemed like it would be a lot of effort to clear, so instead I threw out a warthog and drove away. I drove to the tank and was excited to use it, which was dumb of me considering what mod I'm playing. Now, I promise you that I tried to use this thing, but my brain could not handle the angled aiming that I needed to do to land a shot. The better option was to throw out another warthog and just go for it. In this situation, I would normally die, but because of how awful the ghosts are mixed with the easy to dodge projectile of the hunters, I had enough time to get out, press the button, and wait for the door to open. Once the door was open, I threw out another warthog and drove away. In the next area, I used a different warthog with twin guns to clear everything out. This rampage continued until a marine shot a shotgun that sent us flying. I decided I would instead just use active camo to cover the distance between me and the next indoor section. It ran out just as I got inside, but I was able to barely kill the 2 elites. Now it was time to fight more Minecraft Covenant. Up until now, they hadn't been too annoying because I fought them in pretty open areas. This was enclosed, so their tendencies of spam throwing TNT and rushing me with melee weapons was a lot harder to deal with. The worst of them was the elite with a firework crossbow, but I actually had the perfect counter to all of them. For some reason, the slow shots of the fuel rod would instantly blow up the TNT, so I just spammed at them and they would blow themselves up. I was getting kind of tired of clearing the same exact room, so I used the double jump to get from one bridge to the other, which skipped 2 rooms. The first time I did this, TNT started raining from the sky. That caused me to panic and I died to one of the TNT explosions. The next time I committed to running through and lived. I had to kill a couple more Minecraft enemies, which was easier this time due to not having to deal with a firework crossbow elite. Then I bowed some camo elites, got myself a camo, and ran to the next room. Outside, there were more Minecraft enemies and a banshee harassing me. Not a fun combo, so I started looking for other ways to go about doing this. I tried using the double jump to break my fall, which worked, but I would die to all the Covenant guarding the way up to the control room. Then I tried climbing up the center, but whenever I would jump over the barricade, hunters would spawn. That was fine, I could just throw a car at them. The problem was, jackals with snipers would spawn behind me as well, and that mixed with getting shot from below would kill me. So, how could I skip this last area and stop these spawns from ever happening? Easy, I just had to restart the level. So once again I threw my d20s until I got a lucky roll, killed the enemies in the first room, then started jumping off the side of the bridge. Why, you may ask? Well, if you make it to the valley below without crossing the bridge, no enemies spawn for the rest of the level. I could have just done the bridge fall or banshee steal technique, but I wanted to see if I could use this double jump. And just like that, it's over. All I had to do was run to the end of the level, open some doors, and get into the control room. Getting guns on Guilty Spark was pretty free because of the dead grunts and jackals, and after killing some jackals, I got some Minecraft loot. In the first part of this level, it's only fighting jackals and grunts, so it was pretty simple. The traumatized marine was unfortunately given a pistol with a reversed barrel. Ooh! When I first encountered the flood, I tried to use some splash potions on them, but they just launched them around instead of killing them. Ammo started to be a concern. I used up a ton of my pixelated plasma rifle and the bow wasn't doing any damage. So I just left the room. I was able to find a diamond sword, a crossbow, and some TNT in the next room over. The diamond sword did a lot of damage to the flood. It would 1 or 2 shot them depending on whether or not they were respawners. I then found some duct tape which gave me a new move. Yeah, using this was definitely against the rules. I'm literally shooting a non-covenant weapon. Now that the combat forms were spawning with weapons, using the diamond sword was a lot less safe. Because of the double jump, doing this jump to skip a couple rooms was a lot easier. I also found an overshield potion which gave me the health to run past some enemies. Before I could take the elevator to leave the facility, I used some plasminades to blow up the big group of flood blocking my exit. Outside, I threw out a warthog and drove to the end of the level, where I waited for all the sentinels to die. I saw Johnson appear at the beginning of the library, but I knew what was about to happen.
I promise. I'll be right back.
Get the fuck out of here!
I got a pixelated plasma rifle by getting a lucky roll with a D20 frag. With it, I cleared out the flood and got a heart plasma pistol. I then almost died to a flood with a shotgun, but I was able to clutch. I was fighting for a bit here until I realized I could just use my double jump to get over the wall. Then, while I waited for the monitor to open the first door, I jumped up to a safe ledge. Get used to this, because jumping up to a safe place was going to be my strategy for these waiting sections. Instead of stopping to fight all the combat forms, I ran for it, and whenever I would be in a bad spot, I'd use my double jump to get away. Combat forms were still on my tail, but I was able to drop down to get an overshield and jump out. I continued running and gunning until I got to the hallway just before the elevator. My plan was to jump over the big spawn, but instead I got lucky and somehow a TNT exploded that I hadn't even thrown. At the first locked door of the second floor, I jumped into one of the tunnels where the flood spawned and hid there until the door was unlocked. Once it was unlocked, I made a break for it and did some jumps to safely get to the next door. I repeated what I did on the first floor and ran and double jumped past all the combat forms. This time I didn't have the overshield, so I was very close to dying. When I was fighting, I was using the plasma rifle variants because they were just the best options. I got to another locked door and hit again, then did some jumps to avoid the flood, then ran past some more flood, and once again hid while waiting for a door to be unlocked. I did all this while Johnson talked like he was actually with me.
I need you suckers in here. That laptop's lucky he's basically indestructible, or I'd use him as a goddamn tennis ball.
This is just a quick editor's note, but man, making the library entertaining to watch is so difficult. It's just hallways and locked doors repeated and repeated. After the door finally unlocked, I threw a TNT that took out almost every combat form in my way. Then I got to the elevator for the last time. I got to the second to last locked door, and I know it's a big surprise what I did. The final door was a bit different. Some store brand Guilty Spark told me I had to do math. This was not good. I have not taken a math class since my first semester at college. I needed all the time in the world, so I got to work clearing the area. I started to get overrun, so I was very happy when a D20 spawned a chest that had an invis potion. I drank it and went to do the math. Unfortunately, I was on the clock. The first two questions were very easy, though. I got it on my second try, but my camo ran out. Luckily, I had a speed potion. I drank it, then drank the invis potion, then sped my way to the icon. So now it's time for the Mario Kart levels. Here are the cliff notes of what happened. I was either super far ahead or I was getting blown up. But I was able to complete them all and earn the icon. TB started out like it normally would on Legendary, killing Sentinels with a plasma pistol. I then let the Minecraft Covenant and Sentinels fight it out. For some odd reason, the crossbow elite ignored the Sentinels and rushed me.
Get over here!
That was a big mistake on his part. With his crossbow, I cleaned up the last couple Sentinels, then I killed the last couple Minecraft enemies. I had gotten a speed potion, which I used to get to the Banshee. To break my fall, I used a double jump and was able to take another sip of the potion to make it to the last final stretch. After turning off the first pulse generator, I tried to use the Banshee to clear out the Covenant on the bridge below. But their laser guns were melting me out of the sky. The much better strategy was to land fast and blow them up with grenades. Inside these rooms and hallways, the fuel rod was very good because there wasn't anywhere to dodge the slow-moving projectiles. I did unfortunately run out of ammo, so I had to switch to using the crossbow. Now that I had the best gun in the game, the next fights were pretty smooth sailing. Outside I grabbed a ghost and drove past everything until I got to a funny looking warthog. This interesting variant could fly. That meant I didn't have to go get a Banshee and instead could fly straight to the next pulse generator. To escape I used TNT then just ran for it. Sadly I did now need to abandon the flying warthog. But I could still use a vehicle. The mini warthog was the perfect size to fit through the door. Because it doesn't have any weapons, my best way to kill the flood was just by running them over. It was so lucky that I had this warthog, because look at this, I would have been cooked if I was on foot, but since I did have the warthog, I drove all the way to the Banshee, got in, flew up, and dealt with the last pulse generator. I did want to try to do this level the normal way, but it did not go well. Even with the flashlight, I had to shoot to be able to see because it was so dark. So I restarted and did the trick to glitch into the last area of the level. If you want to know how to do it, I have a short up called Key's Flood Bump. I first killed the Covenant squad for their guns, then used my nades on the Flood. When I started the cutscene, I was caught off guard because Keys was alive.
Hello, it is me, Captain Keys.
He's alive.
Captain Keys.
Look out.
Don't worry, I've got it.
One of my D20 spawned this crazy vehicle that I used to kill everything that spawned after the cutscene. Then I just ran to the hangar, used the double jump to break my fall, and got in the warthog. So, this was a very fun start to the mod, just driving in a straight line for 4 minutes. Inside, I used my nades to get a gun from the Flood. Then I had to deal with some Minecraft enemies that all died to something while I was fighting the Flood outside. I had to clear the bridge very cautiously because it was infested with shotgun jackals. Then once I left, I blew up some Flood with my fuel rod. This hallway is usually pretty annoying because of all the Flood spawning. But with the fuel rod, I could shoot some shots, run with them, and get to the overshield before getting overrun. Then I used the overshield to tank some damage so I could run past the next big group of Covenant. The engine room was very easy to traverse because of the double jump. Because of how fast I blew up the reactor cores, I barely dealt with any enemies. Then I finished the final fight the way I started this mod, with the plasma rifle. Now it was time for the Warthog run, and I had a lot of very cursed options to choose from. The first Warthog I tried was one that had reversed gravity. Not so good when you're traversing a place with no ceiling. I then tried the mini Warthog, which made it far but got stuck when a combat form started shooting me with a gun that spawns blocks. I don't know why I tried this one. Not surprisingly, the one that worked the best was the one that most resembled the OG Warthog. It was a bit more squared and had no gunner, but it drove well, which is not common for this mod. Now all that was left to do was finish driving and run to the end trigger of the level. This mod really lived up to the name. It was very cursed. I will say some of the mechanics were actually really fun to use, like the double jump, karate moves, and potions. Since I didn't use any of the human weapons, I didn't show off what any of them did. So if you want to know how cursed they are, I highly recommend trying out this mod for yourself. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, subscribing would mean a lot.